Okay guys, so let's look at one last option when my opponent defends the hook sweep, but this time instead of defending the hook sweep early, this defense that I'm talking about now is when my partner rebounds off the mat, he bridges back off the mat. So after I did what was a pretty good hook sweep, so this usually happens against like scrappy guys or scrambly guys. You go to hook sweep them, you do a good hook sweep, but you just don't secure the top position, or you didn't find your way to keep them down with their back on the mat or pinned down. So what do I mean by that? So a lot of times I'm going to be here, I go for the hook sweep. As I start to sweep my partner, exactly, he bridges back up right there before I'm able to find myself towards the top position. And that's not what I'm looking to happen, but it's something that I have to be aware about, something that I have to expect. And I have a couple of options from there, what I can do off the rebound. Okay, so the first option that I have is to actually hit him with another hook sweep. So the best illustration that I can give of this is probably from the collar elbow. You can definitely do it from the over-under, but let's just keep working from the collar elbow. So as I go for this one hook sweep this way, he bridges and bounces back up. I'm gonna already get ready with my clinch and go right there towards the other hook sweep. The idea is I'm catching the momentum of him coming up. So he's coming up off the mat, and which way he's going? He's going back towards the center, right? So he's driving towards that way. As he's driving towards that way, I'm gonna just keep him headed that direction, gonna make him overcommit and change the sides. What's important? What do I need to be proficient at when I do this? I need to be proficient at, like, my hips are on one side, my heels and my hips switch to the other side. So throwing myself and my hips from one side to the next with my heels and driving my heels is something that I need to be very good at. So this rebound hook sweep is a very good option for this. So let's look at it one more time. So I'm here, maybe I found my way towards the collar elbow control. I'm gonna go towards the position. As I start to sweep, my partner comes back up. I immediately switch to the other side. Another way that I can kind of use this rebound hook sweep is off of my failed hook sweep. So if I'm here and I initially like go for my first hook sweep, like, and I slip and my partner posted, but he's posting and backing up, looks back up. Yeah, so, oh, exactly. So he's rebuilding his posture. So again, I'm gonna go, he slips, he posts and backs up. That's gonna be my timing to go. So this is another way I can use the position. The idea is just to follow it up. So either one, I hit him with the hook sweep, he bounces back up, I switch the direction. Two, I had a missed hook sweep, maybe it was a little slippery, right? So I'm here, I had a missed hook sweep, maybe it was a little slippery, I missed, he pulls back up. I'm gonna come back up and go right to my hook sweep of my own. Okay guys, so let's go back to that idea of the rebound and what opportunities it presents for me, okay? So a lot of times when I go for that initial kind of sweep over here, as I start to go for the sweep over here, my partner rebounds up. Let's go. Yeah, exactly. So let's do it one more time. So as I start to go over here, my partner rebounds up. I'm gonna sit up too. Why? Because I want to start to go to the next attack. But one thing that I can always look for is there's kind of an arc. As my partner brings his head back up, then it gets to a point where along this arc, I switch to the other side for the hook sweep. But if my partner makes the mistake to, as I start to go for this hook sweep, and either one, he leaves his head low on this arc, or two, I sit up quicker than him on this arc, what I'm going to look to do, instead to go to the hook sweep, I'm going to look to snap his head into my armpit over there. So what I'm looking to accomplish is his head goes across to my armpit, my shoulder goes right on the top of the back of his neck, and my wrist on the other side goes high in his throat. From here, I'm going to start to look to attack the guillotine position. So with this under my control, I'm going to grab my own wrist over there, pull my partner's head to the mat, escape my other leg. Let's just rotate. Pull my partner's head to the mat, escape my other leg, landing on my side, and I'm going to look to get a high elbow position over here as I do this move. So when I'm doing this move over here, I want to finish straight into my partner's neck. So I cover my partner's neck with my shoulders. I rotate to help get my elbow over, rotate my body and my head, and I'm going to pull straight against his neck over here as I sit up into the position. And I'm going to be able to get a good tap on the high elbow guillotine right there. So this is a good move, guys, whenever you notice that your partner's head is low. So with my partner, a lot of times, sometimes my partner likes to play low on my legs or his head lower than my head. That's going to be the opportunity that I go to this position. So off the butterfly guard, the idea of my partner rebounds and then comes back. When I go to the sweep, as he comes back, I sit back up. That's going to give me the opportunity to go to the snap down. So I go to the snap down, I bring his head to the armpit. You guys can see my shoulder covers the top of his neck. My wrist finds its way over there. I use a very narrow hand shape, not a fist. That's going to be hard to fit sometimes. Very narrow hand shape. And I put the arm around his neck and get my wrist to the other side. I'm going to connect my hands on this side, and I'm going to act like I'm doing a push-up. So if I can do a push-up, I have the flexibility in the wrist. I just treat my first hand as the floor, and that's going to give me the ability to bring my elbow over. My other thing that's going to give me the ability to bring the elbow over is my shoulder rotating, my torso, and my head rotating. So all those things are going to allow me to get the elbow on top of the shoulder, right? So I came here, I just came to the snap, I got the armpit on top of his neck, I connected my hands, got my wrist through the other side, and what's important, I'm not going to fall straight back. Okay, if I fall straight back, sometimes my partner can get a better angle to block my elbow from coming over here. Let's see. Yes, exactly. So when I'm here, I begin to fall towards the side, and now I lift the elbow high, get the leg on top. Let's just rotate. Get the leg on top to stop him from rolling, clamping the position down. If I don't get this leg on top, a lot of times my partner's going to roll. Nope. Maybe that way, yeah, sure. Let's come back. Or he's going to bail out sideways. Let's go sideways. Other side. Nope, this way. That's it. Exactly. So come back. So when I'm here, I control my partner's hips. He tries to do that. Oh, no way. So let's look one more time. So I'm going to be here. We're in this situation. I go for the initial hook sweep. He comes back up, and I go to the snap. As I go to the snap, you see I'm kicking my partner away. That idea of dividing the attack that I want, his body away from that. So I divide his hips away from his head, kicking him away. I fall towards the side of the choke. Shoulder rotates, head rotates, torso rotates. As my foot comes out, I clamp his hips. I clamp his hips and my elbow comes out. I'm going to sit up, pull the wrist towards my chest. Right there for the finish. I need to pull this wrist up towards the chest to get that tight guillotine, okay? So even from here, even when we started in this position, I noticed my partner's head was low, so whether it came from the rebound or my partner put his head there, I do a cross snap, get the guillotine. I'm going to fall to the side, right towards my shoulder. Notice how my elbow peeks its way up. I fall to the side, leg on top, sit up strong, pull the wrist towards my chest through his neck. And I'm going to get the tap on the guillotine. Alright guys, so let's just look at some common defense that my partner's going to look to do when I'm attempting to do the guillotine from the butterfly guard and how I can counter that. So let's come back to the knees out here. And whether it came from the rebound, boom, I tried to sweep him, he came back, and I was able to feed the position, or it just came from I saw his head was low, boom, and I snapped him down, or a push-pull, and I saw his head was low, and I snapped him down. I arrived in the guillotine position, just like we saw in the last move. And guys, my preference to finish the guillotine is to get the elbow on top of the shoulder. This is going to give me a better leverage against my partner's neck. And if my partner's smart though, and he knows that, very often he's going to look to block this elbow from coming over by exactly hugging. Yeah. And it depends where he's going to hug the position, how I'm going to look to address it, honestly. But if he hugs more like around the side over here, okay? One thing that I can try to do is as I fall to the side over here, okay, my outside leg, you guys can see, he's going to look to clean up his arm by scraping that off. Now my leg can come back over and I find the position. So let's just get a better angle on that. So when my partner comes here, I fall towards my back, my outside leg can kind of like clamp his elbow, and that takes his grip off my elbow, freeing my elbow now to get a better angle to come back on top, and then from there I can go back to the position. That would be one way. The second way I would look to address the situation is maybe my flexibility is not there, or my hooks are trapped on the inside. I wasn't able to escape that leg, right? And I am not able to use this outside leg to free that grip. The last way I'm going to look to do that is when I'm here is now I'm going to look to see if my partner's going to respect the sweep or not. What do I mean? If I start to, the idea is this, if this arm is dependent on the defense, if I start to sweep towards that way, that should be almost the equivalent of like taking away a post, right? So if he insists to defend the guillotine and then I sweep, great, I sweep and I'm on top. Maybe now I can even go back to that position and start to go to the position, right? But either way, whether I get the finish or not, I'm going to get the sweep. If, however, he respects the sweep and he posts, so if I go to sweep here and he posts, now look, I'm going to switch my hip back and arrive right back in the guillotine. So it's like, what does he want to give me? Either you give me the sweep or you're going to give me the submission again. So let's just do it from this angle so we can get a clear view. So when I'm here, you guys can see my partner has the elbow on top over here. My first option would be to chop and come over. My second option is he basically voluntarily took away a post to defend the position. So I just continue with my normal hook sweep. Fall to the side, elevate, post on the toes here. If from the top position I can start to clear the position, move my head and get myself over and finish, great. But if I just get on top, it's a good deal. Last one is, let's rotate a little more, sorry. I'm here in this position. I start to lift, exactly, he posts, and I'm going to come back to my original idea. Switch my hips and arrive in the position. So I need to get used to one more time that same concept that we worked in rebounding, right? I went from one side of the sweep to the other side. On the guillotine, same idea. I went from one side to the sweep, okay, he defended. I need to go back to the other side to finish my original intention of going to finish the guillotine, okay? The last one is, the final one, is if I was here on my partner and he defended over the shoulder, right, like exactly. So now my elbow's not coming out over here. I have the same option, but a different idea. So if I go to lift towards this way and my partner posts, exactly, where am I going to go back to, guys? Right there towards that inverted armbar series that we just learned. So no matter what reaction he has, at a minimum I'm going to get the sweep, go back to the submission or the submission on top, and finally transfer to the inverted armbar series at a minimum. Okay guys, so we spoke earlier about the dominance of having the underhook, having the double underhooks in particular. That being said, there's going to be times and opportunities where my partner either one gets ahead of me or two isn't really insisting on any sort of particular engagement. And that's going to be the time when I want to go or take advantage of the fact that I can use the overhook control to start to set up some attacks over there. And let's look at one or two common situations why I would do that, why I would opt for the overhooks versus the underhook. Sometimes we're here with opponents, guys, where a lot of times my partner is very like focused on keeping like an inside control over on me, right? So whenever my partner is very focused on inside control, it can be difficult because as I'm trying to pummel, as I'm trying to hands fight over there, every time he's pummeling in on me. But he's not doing much. He's just kind of staying, being a little bit passive and staying on the knees, but just like blocking me here. The thing that's difficult when that happens is now my hooks become not as effective because I can't elevate my partner, right? Anytime I need to elevate my partner, I need to get some control of his upper body. So when I'm here in this situation, if I can't dig a underhook, if I can't get a solid hand, 2-on-1 control, I'm going to look to change for an overhook over here. Okay, so what I'm going to look to do is my hand's going to come over and I'm going to look to wrap right over there his arm. Okay, and when I'm here, it's very important that I'm not just like hugging his back or something like that. I'm wrapping his arm, and you guys can see my hand travels through towards my own chest over here. If you notice, if I just hug like this, what happens? He controls the armpit. So this is the battle that we spoke about before, right? Who's going to control the armpit? When I bring my fist, my hand to my chest, what ends up happening is, you guys can see his hand doesn't have as big of an effect in control of my armpit because I'm doing a good job to crunch that space. So he's not as high up on me. Okay? My next idea is to block. Let's just rotate over here. So I get the overhook here. So my next idea is to block this other side. Okay? The reason is I don't want my partner starting to either push my knee down. Maybe he's going to hug my head over here for some head control, something like this. So I need to make sure that I block this other side. And one good way to start is just like cup his biceps over here. So as my partner starts to reach over here, I have a frame to block him. Eventually I'm going to look to slide down his arm and control the wrist. Okay. From this control over here where I have his wrist and I have the overhook over here, I can start to go to the traditional butterfly sweep. I push the wrist inside, I scoop my hip forward, I'm going to elevate the position and carry him over on top. Just when I come on top, I just have to be careful to reestablish my base and reclaim a good pinning position, a good underhook position, right? But when I'm here, that all starts from what? I don't let him occupy my armpit over here, and I do a good job keeping control of his wrist and pushing it into himself. If the idea is I want to keep his arms to himself, right? Guys, sometimes this can also happen. Another situation is if maybe my partner wasn't just focused on inside control passively, he was focused on inside control aggressively. He surprised me on the underhook, and I'm just going to have the reaction to take a good overhook. So one more time, I get that fist towards my chest. You see how that adjusts the positioning of my partner's arm, giving him less control of my upper body and my armpit. And my other hand is going to go control his wrist and push inside. Now I'm going to scoop myself forward the same way like we do the traditional sweep and start to elevate the position. Once I either come on top towards a mount, some sort of a mount, or side control, I need to make sure that I establish the top position either pummeling the underhook or with my hips heavy. Guys, one last thing. When we're here, it is acceptable to stay on the tricep. I don't always have to go to the wrist. So what I mean by that is if my partner is committing into me in the position and I block the triceps over here, let's try me flat maybe. Yeah. This situation over here. This is fine. Okay, eventually I can work down towards his wrist, but never at the risk of losing the control. The reason is if I start to lose the control of his triceps over here and Kyle runs his hips towards the other way and eventually gets the crossface, this is going to be a huge problem. So when I'm choosing to work an overhook, and if my partner brings my hips the opposite way that I wish, I always block here. So I need to keep him low on my hips. And this makes sense. I need his hips over my hips, right? I don't want him to get high, get his shoulders, advance his way up my armpits, right? So I'm gonna block here, okay? If I see the opportunity to slide down, that would be great. I can sit up and go. If also, when he enters on the position over here, let's go, I can block right here. And as he goes to drive me flat, I give a little bit of a pull with the overhook, push the arm inside like we would normally do on the over-under sweep. I can go to the triceps and keep a good top position on the sweep right there. But it's not the ideal situation of having the underhooks, but it's still a very strong option and something that we need to use against either an opponent who's either passively winning in side position on us, and I see an opportunity to go for the overhook and then go towards the sweep, because this is gonna pull his hips off his heels so I get some momentum, right? Or against an opponent who aggressively wins inside position on us, and I can still try to go towards the same execution of that sweep right there. Okay guys, so we're now looking at this idea of using the overhook as an attacking position from the butterfly guard. And we spoke about basically two situations where I can use this. Either my opponent is passively avoiding me winning inside position, and I'm gonna go to the overhook to start to create some action and force his weight on top of me so I can start to elevate. Or he's aggressively winning inside position on me, and we're gonna have another attack available for us if this starts to happen, okay? So the first attack that I really like to try from the overhook position is the triangle, okay? So let's look at first if I'm winning the overhook and my partner is passively controlling inside position. So as I'm here in this situation, my partner is being passively winning the position, I'm gonna look to go to the overhook to get some control of his weight over here. Again, I block the biceps and the triceps, and eventually I'm gonna work my way down to his wrist. Now, a lot of times what happens in this situation is when my partner is being passive, a lot of times he's maybe even going to want to run away from the control to avoid him from getting elevated. And what that ends up doing is as he goes to run away, let's go, yeah, see how it kind of elongates him and brings his posture down? What does that also do? It disconnects him from my hooks. So whether consciously or unconsciously, he knows that if he puts his weight on top of my hooks, I have the ability to lift him. So common reaction is he's going to just scoot away and get his weight out of my hooks, get his weight off of my hooks. So when that happens, that's giving me the opportunity to go towards the next idea. So I'm going to get the overhook on this side. I'm going to control the wrist. I prefer to grab under instead to like this. This is like a reverse wrist because I feel it does a better job to push the arm inside over there than the over does. This feels a little awkward for me, and maybe I'm also going to give up an underhook over here if he changes his mind. So I prefer the reverse wrist to keep my elbow tight. So I'm here, I slide my hand down, I go to that reverse wrist. Now, from this situation, I'm going to put my foot on his hips to keep a distance. This helps measure distance. So whether I just put my foot there or whether he walked back, my hook's attached and I got my foot at his hips, either way I'm going to arrive there. Now from here, I'm going to fall to the side as I push this wrist in, and I'm going to pull him and allow him to fall into the triangle. Once I get the triangle over here, guys, you guys can choose which way you guys like the triangle. In truth, for this movement, because I kind of fell with my hips this way, sometimes it's a little bit long of a distance to completely change the angle the other way. I prefer to lock a reverse triangle over here. As I fell towards that way, I feel like it's a quicker lock of the figure four. Let's just come this side. And also, because of the overhook over here, sometimes it's easier to get to the position. To finish the reverse triangle, I'm just going to look to do the same thing. I'm going to pull my knee, push his head down, and start to finish the position right there. So let's look again. See from this angle maybe. So I'm here, my partner's being a little passive on not giving me the control of the inside position, really avoiding the situation. So I'm gonna see if he's gonna allow me to go over instead. I find his biceps over here, I slide down to his wrist, my foot goes to his hip to keep the distance. So whether or not he moved back or the foot went to the hip to get a better angle for me, I'm gonna start to fold to my side over here, push his wrist inside and go to the triangle. So it's my preference, since my hip went this way, I'm gonna lock the reverse triangle in his armpit. So the crook of my knee goes towards his shoulder. I'm gonna pull the foot inside, and then I'm gonna lock the figure 4 opposite than what we're used to. From here, I'm gonna pull my knee into his shoulder, my elbow brings his head down on the other side, and I'm gonna start to lift my hips, squeeze my thighs, and that's gonna give me the tap. So last time quick, here. Okay guys, so let's go back to that overhook series, okay? So we're gonna continue going towards this triangle. The only difference now is we're gonna use a different mechanism to free my legs. So before, because my partner was so passive, I was able to escape my foot to the hip on the triangle and wrap the position from there. Sometimes my partner changes his mind mid-move, or maybe like it's hard to free my feet, maybe I have a little bit longer legs. So instead of going to the triangle using the foot to hip and falling to my side, I'm gonna go to the triangle using the hook lift. Okay, so let's take a look how it's gonna work. So I'm gonna be here on the overhook position. Let's first go over the reaction that I'm looking to feel. When I'm here and I have this position, I feel like my legs are a little bit stuck and I can't maybe get that foot to the hip as easy as possible. Maybe my partner changed his mind and he started driving in. That would be another reason why I would go to this hook lift. So now the idea is the opposite, right? So before, my partner's hips were far away. It's impossible to lift him, right? So as his hips were far away, it's very easy to take the legs out. Now he changed his mind. He decides to drive his hips a little more. It's hard to take the legs out, but I have the weight that I need, his weight over my hip to lift him. So as I have the position set up, what I feel strong for the triangle, I have his, here, let's go on the other side. I have his wrist over here, and I have the overhook over here. Let's continue working to go to the triangle, even though I can't get my feet out. So we're gonna use the hook lift. So again, hips come underneath, lift him up, throw you back to the mat, all in one motion, and I'm gonna start to elevate him. Once I start to elevate him, I'm gonna throw him away, pushing him away as I extend my feet away. So it's gonna look like this here. And my partner is gonna land right there in the triangle. So he felt, also I threw him away. Now, whether your partner reacts that way or whether you insist on that reaction, it's gonna depend. But once I'm here, I'm gonna land in that same triangle position. In this situation, my partner's posture is a little lower for my liking, so I don't mind to cross the arm and then go to the standard triangle from here. If you guys are getting better at the reverse triangle over here, remember, just get that knee in the crook of his armpit, lock the figure 4, and start to go to the submission over there with the reverse triangle. Let's talk one more time. So in this situation, a lot of times why I would go for the triangle from this control is because I'm having like a fickle opponent. What I mean by that is like, he's in, he's out, he's in, he's out, right? So I get my control over here, and instead of being out, he closes distance. So that's why I'm going to the hook lift versus the foot to hip, right? And as he closes distance over here, one more time, as I start to go to the lift, maybe I thought in my mind I'm initially going to go to the overhook sweep, right? So I thought in my mind, like, oh, I'm going to go straight there. His hip's over my hip, right? But let's come back. But if I thought that in my mind, if I felt that my opponent was fickle, like he keeps changing his mind, as I go for the overhook sweep, a lot of times he throws his hip back again. Exactly. So this is what I'm feeling from my opponent. This is what I'm feeling or recognizing in his base, right? So this would be the perfect opportunity to go to that situation. He's in, he's out, he's in, he's out. So why? As he throws his weight back that other time, he's kind of giving me that same opportunity for the triangle. So I'm here, he came closer, he has the position for me to elevate him easily. I'm going to throw my back to the mat and go, and as I feel him start to go, I'm going to extend him away and go to the triangle. So it's going to be here. And I'm going to arrive right there. Once I arrive right there, guys, you guys can choose. If he stayed low enough in this posture, I would start to cross the arm. If his posture got a little up, I would change the angle, getting my knee towards the mat, my crook of my knee in his armpit, locking the figure 4, going to my knee, using my elbow against his head, and lifting and squeezing and pulling the hips up right there. So one last time. Okay guys, so let's go back to a tool that we touched on with one of the last positions, and that's putting that foot on the hip. Especially no-gi, I really like to take advantage of putting the foot on the hip to control distance, especially if my partner's a little aggressive. It's just one more step that my partner has to deal with before he advances on the guard. There's no guard pass that my partner can do until he clears that foot on the hip. And if I have that on my mind, I can take advantage of the hands fight to slow it down or slow him down. And also, I can use it as a defensive tactic too. So if my partner's starting to get ahead, flattening me out in the position, but I have a good reaction to find my foot to his hip, I'm going to be able to set up the positions more effectively, right? So let's take a look at what I mean. So if my partner is on my knees over here and I'm able to just keep a foot on my hip over here, my partner is always going to have to address this foot before he starts to go, and from there I can start working a bunch of different attacks from there offensively, or starting to win the hands fight, or start to win the hands fight in this way, because from here my partner really can't do much coming forward without that foot being there. In the gi, I probably wouldn't be looking to exploit this as much, but it's no-gi and it's a very, very good thing to keep in mind if you need to slow down the fight a little bit. From a defensive standpoint, if I get to a point where I'm starting to lose the position over here, my partner is starting to barrel into me to flatten me out or something like that, if I lose the leverage to hook lift. And when would I lose that leverage? If I met him with my shoulders, right, like we spoke about, if I got my shoulder lower than his shoulder, like I would be able to hook lift him very, very easily over there, right? Because I have the momentum and the positional advantage. But if my hips start to get in front of my shoulders, then this is where I start to lose the ability to hook lift. Like, it's very difficult now for me to hook lift. But that being said, I do have the time to react as my partner goes and arrive there with my foot on the hip. Sometimes, if I'm dealing with an aggressive opponent and I know that he likes needs to put my back on the ground to pass the guard, I'm almost also gonna feel his positioning over here and then throw my back to the mat. So what would I mean? Imagine it's later in the match, or maybe this it's his best position, and I'm having trouble holding him here in this stable position, right? In this position where my hips are behind my shoulders over here, and he's really driving and forcing through over here. Instead to fight him over here and spend all that energy, I'm gonna throw my back to the mat, almost like disappear, like underneath my partner, and find my foot to his hip. So as he goes to advance, I don't go down on his terms, I go down on my terms. I throw my back to the mat and I find my foot on his hip. Once I find my foot on my partner's hip over there, again, it's going to be a lot harder for him to start to work to pass my guard. And we're going to go over a very good attack from this position when my partner is digging the underhooks on me over here, and it's going to be the omoplata position, okay? So when I'm here and I find my partner's hip over here with my foot, now what I'm going to look to do is I'm going to look to hip escape and get my hips away from the foot on the hip. So in this situation, I'm going to use this foot that's on the hip, my foot that's on the floor. I keep my knees relatively tight over here, and I'm going to start to hip escape towards this way. So I go towards the hip escape. When I go towards the hip escape towards this way, you guys can see I'm rotating my partner's elbow and pushing his head down. This from here, and I can either use my hand or I can use my wrist. This is a very good control over here. But this from here is going to start to apply that torque on my partner's shoulder that breaks his posture. And obviously a little bit more control of the head, either I can go here or here, is going to help do the same thing. The idea is I need tools to control his posture from here. Now, once I arrive in this situation, this leg, yeah, can I like use my flexibility and allow myself to pass my foot in front? Yes. But a much more effective option from the situation is to use the meat of my thigh against his armpit. So once again, I'm looking to control that space in his armpit, but this time instead of an underhook, I'm using my thigh over there to knock him out of balance that way. And I'm gonna swing, my body opens backwards as my leg goes across. This is gonna allow me to get the momentum to escape my hip. Now guys, it's no-gi over here, so I'm always gonna look to control my elbow, my partner's elbow, and block his wrist with my elbow. From this situation, I always prefer to use my elbow to get up and stretch my legs very strong to keep his shoulder down. Some people like to cross over here. It's really just a preference thing. Most important thing is that I keep his elbow. I don't let his arm come out there. Yep. And I stretch with my hamstring against his shoulder. Every time he postures up, I stretch down. Okay, and then from here, most of us know, I pick the legs up, I bring both feet back towards my butt, and as it's no-gi, I'm going to use an S grip in my partner's shoulder to connect my hands. Sit up, and I'm going to get the tap on the omoplata right there. Another reason why I like to control the elbow, because if my partner does do the traditional escape on the omoplata where he rolls, can you roll, Kyle? If he tries to come on top over here, try to come on top, no way. As long as I keep this elbow on the mat, there's no way that my partner can build his base on top. In order for Kyle to come on top, what needs to happen is his elbow needs to come back to the mat and right there. You guys see that? Just rotate. His elbow needs to build his base. If that elbow never comes towards the mat, let's come back to this spot here. If that elbow never comes towards the mat, let's go. There's no way he can come on top. And then from here, I can start to get into more advanced positions and more advanced attacks from the top position. But let's just focus today on the omoplata, okay? So let's look again. So my partner's here. Maybe I engaged him in the over-under. Maybe he engaged me here. And I feel myself losing this battle for position, for hip position. So I'm going to throw my back to the mat, foot on his hip. My hands go to control his posture. So just rotate from the cut. My hands go to control his posture. So I'm going to control his elbow or his head or some combination of one or both. And I'm going to hip escape as I start to bring my leg out. So I'm going to hip escape and bring my leg up. Once my leg comes up, the meaty part of my thigh is going to swing and hit, and I escape myself out. Notice I'm controlling his elbow the whole time. If I can use my abs to sit up and keep my legs heavy, great. If you guys need to use your hand on the ground though, then more than fine. Use that hand and that elbow to get up. The only advantage of sometimes not using your hands is it's easier to reach straight to the lock on his shoulders over there. But I'm going to build my posture up either way, and now I'm going to start to switch my position. If I get the S grip on the shoulder and I can finish, great. If my partner rolls, I just maintain the elbow. He tries to come on top, no way. And then from here I can either settle on top for the sweep or start to go to some more advanced submissions over there. Okay, so we went over the omoplata where I'm actively getting my foot to the hip over there, preemptively throwing my back to the mat to be able to maintain a distance that's favorable to me, hip escape, and throw my leg over the shoulder, knocking my thigh into his armpit for the omoplata. Sometimes though, it's like anything, guys. The better I react in jiu-jitsu, the less I'm gonna have to work. This is such an important idea to keep in mind. And this is why, jiu-jitsu takes like a lot of timing, a lot of drilling, a lot of feeling, because you need to react properly or else you're gonna have to do more work afterwards. So if I was in the situation where my partner flattened me out over here and I missed the opportunity to escape my hip, he drove his elbow to his knee and my foot stuck over there, guys. Now I'm losing the momentum of the hook lift. I don't have underhooks on him and I don't have the distance under my control because I lost the foot to the hip over there. So whether I'm passively or I'm actively reacting here is going to matter. And if I end up in this situation where my partner is pinning me down over here, knees and elbows together, I'm going to need to start to rely on like a bridge and a hip escape, pushing his shoulders, and then try to retract my foot over there. But what's important, when I bridge and hip escape, I almost like kick my partner back. So I bridge, hip escape, and I kick my partner back with my feet. So like I kick there, and then I'm going to arrive one more time back in the position. One last option too that I have over here, guys, if my partner pins me in this situation over here, is I can build a frame. I can bring one hand to his shoulder, my other hand makes a connection, and now since I'm bothering his head over here, I can do that same sit-up. I'm going to push him away with the frame and with the hooks, and now maybe I can get right back into the original idea of the game. Or if I push him away just enough, that's going to give me the opportunity one more time to get that foot on the hip, start to swing my leg over for the omoplata, right? And either sit up, control the elbow, and finish the position. Okay guys, so like we said, sometimes my partner is going to be very difficult to hook lift and he's being aggressive on me instead of me being able to set up my hands fight. And we went over getting the omoplata from here, but sometimes my partner, instead to control and hug around my waist, he's going to control like hug around my knees. What he wants to do, he wants to like smash my knees together over there and start to advance his way passing in this situation. And guys, it's very unlikely that even though my partner is kind of like taking away post on himself over here, that I'm going to be able to lift if my knees are like very close together over here, okay? And also, the other reason why it's hard to lift is because his hips, once again, are on the end of my hooks. It's not like my hips are looks like, go for 1 sec. It's not like my hips are in, right? So I'm not going to be able to have that good elevation. But my reaction is always going to be the same though. I'm always going to try to do my best to keep my legs open. But when my partner goes to this position now, instead to stay square with him and let him circle around, one more time I'm going to begin to fall towards my side and find my feet on the hips. So with my feet on the hips over here, I have both triceps under my control. In this situation, I chose to put both feet on the hips. And now I'm going to work to go to that omoplata one more time. So I'm going to kick this leg through. And same thing, I'm going to chop my leg over the shoulder to break his posture. Adjust my hips. I'm going to sit up, keeping my leg stretched against his shoulder. And then one more time, we have the same omoplata finish. So I really like this control when my partner's like controlling overs on my legs. I just fall towards my side and get my feet on the hips, and the arm that's over the top, that's the one I'm going to kick through. I can do this one too, although it's a little bit more difficult, even if my partner has like the under over, as long as I react quick to get this distance maker. So the idea is once I have the foot on the hip, that's going to give me the opportunity, and then from here I can start to go back towards the triangle, or I can swing one more time for the omoplata position. So putting those feet on the hips is going to give you a defensive advantage to set up your attack and control the distance in your advantage.